Welcome to the esynergy podcast, conversations that cut through the hype and get to what actually works. I'm Ulrike Eder, Chief Marketing Officer at esynergy, and in each episode, we sit down with business and technology leaders to hear the unfiltered story, the lessons hidden behind success and failure, and practical steps to understand how we break down big ideas and turn them into real-life impact. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Mike Cadden, Chief Technology Officer of Marie Curie, one of our long-standing clients. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
And Mike has spent, and he will tell you about it, years building and leading technology teams in complex organizations. And he has been shaping how teams build, scale, and operate digital services to deliver real-world impact. We're going to focus on a number of things in this episode. One, around how charities evolve into data-led technology organizations, what AI transformation looks like in this context, and where the real risks and responsibilities really lie. So we're going to talk about ethical use of AI and how Marie Curie approaches that, but also what other sectors can learn from the constraints that charities are operating under. So welcome, Mike. Really excited to have you.
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
And I guess, Mike, do we start with a bit of an introduction and tell us about Marie Curie? I'm assuming most of our listeners knows, but
Obviously, one of the biggest, most famous charities in the UK. I've been Chief Technology Officer there now for coming up for 3 years. Again, one of the proudest, most difficult jobs I've had. I'm not ashamed to say that emotionally, it's a challenging job to do. The mission we have and what we, the patients we support, the carers we support, what they go through end of life. We still, to this day, 537 people a day die without the care that they need, the support they need. So the mission that we have today is even more important than it's ever been. And with the NHS funding, and everyone knows that the challenge NHS is under, what we provide and the support we provide alongside the brilliant NHS is more critical now than it's ever been. You tier alongside that with the economic challenges that the world's facing, then the work that we're doing within Marie Curie to continue providing that service and indeed scale that service to all the people that need it is needed more than ever. And you feel the weight of that, the weight and the possibility of that pressure every day. It's such an amazing organization to be part of. We've just had the London Marathon, where we were part of the charity partners. I have to mention that. I have to mention, my colleague Sarah Holmes and colleagues who did the four-legged run, and just so amazing. Her, Helen, and Sam did an amazing job amongst all of the other 747 runners who ran for us. So, heroes, immense people, all of them.
Amazing. Thank you. I guess, Mike, where I wanted to start is from a consulting perspective, and we obviously operate quite a bit in the third sector and have been working with you guys for a while. We're definitely seeing a trend where charities are turning more into data-led technology organizations. And from your perspective, I wanted to see, do you feel like, is that real or a bit overstated?
I think in the charity sector, it's overstated. If I look back in my career in the retail sector where I was before, then it's a truism now that retailers are technology companies that are focused on their customer. You can never lose sight of the customer, but the customer has many channels to shop with you in the retail space. So retail organizations have to become a technology and data organization indeed now, with the changes to shopping through AI. The retail space, actually, retailers are becoming AI organizations. So it's a natural evolution. The charity space, though, is different. And I can't talk for many charities. This is my only one. So I'll apologize to any charities I offend out there with this. But where I sit in Marie Curie, we will never be a tech organization ever. My mission on the exec is to be the most hidden exec of all of them, the least visible in a way. I want our nurses to forget that they use technology. At the moment, they don't. They are, they complain about technology all the time. It gets in their way a little bit. I think, I'm not really giving away anything when I say that. We're working really hard with our care and services teams to resolve this. But at the end of the day, we're a people organization. We care for people at the end of their life, going through the most emotional periods of life. Our healthcare assistants, our nurses, our doctors are the most amazing human beings. That is the people that we are. We're a people organization through and through. Now, that's not to say that tech and data is not critical to everything we do. Our fundraising teams rely on our data. Our fundraising teams rely on the tech. Again, we wouldn't have been so successful in London Marathon in sort of scaling up and dealing with that without the immense efforts of our tech teams and the data teams. But we will never be tech and data led in the way that other organizations are. We will always be people led. But my mission is to utilize AI, to utilize data, to utilize technology so that when our people are doing their work, where they're supporting them every step of the way in the way that they're supporting their patients and custody and carers.
Mm-hmm. And from a, I guess, data perspective, because obviously you're dealing with volumes and scale of data.
Mm.
How do you look at that in terms of from a priority perspective? How important is data in your area?
It's critical now. Again, I'm not really giving it. When I arrived, we had a very low data maturity. There were so many challenges that we had to face. This isn't being critical of anybody, but our data maturity was not where it was. I mean, when we started engaging esynergy, and that would have been about 3.5 years ago, if I remember right. You guys have come on and supported us a long way in doing that. I look at our patient record estate we had then. We had, I think, 19 different patient record systems when I came in. Now we're working with our colleagues to bring that together. But that brings huge data quality challenges. It brings huge challenges everywhere. Now, we've resolved a lot of that. We've worked through, and now our data is in a far better place from a structural point of view. We have a far bit higher data maturity. Still not where I want it to be, but it's a lot better now. We have an exec who really understand what it is to be data led and to utilize data properly. And in fact, several of my exec colleagues are pushing me really hard to even improve there, as we were talking about outside. So, the reality is that we are on a mission, we're on a journey to really utilize our data. If you look at within caring services, we're working with the NHS, we're working with primary care networks in England to, identify through data people who are end of life as early as possible so that we can support them on their journey. Not a journey anyone wants to be on, but, if we can support them from as early as possible, we have far better outcomes. We have, people, have a far better quality of life where we can. Yeah. So utilizing data in those spaces alongside our NHS colleagues to deliver on what we can for our patients.
So important. And as you said, I guess the question I have for you, as you said, the third sector charities seem to generally be a little bit behind the curve in terms of using and utilizing data and technology to the utmost potential. Are there, because you guys looked at that for such a long time now, are there any kind of practical tips that you can give to your peers in other charities where you would say you really got to look at these priorities 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, part of it is look at your architecture. And I know, I'm on a number of charity groups. I know a lot of my charity colleagues are, driving this now. I think, yes, my experience is the charity sector is a few years behind maybe the retail sector. Lots of reasons behind that, but I feel they're catching up now. There's some great charity leaders out there driving the data space. I would encourage charity tech leaders and data leaders to partner more with the private sector in terms of making use of knowledge and capability in what we can do and use more private sector expertise where people have been through this journey already. I say the retail space where people have been through this journey to drive, better outcomes, to drive, costs down, to drive, customer acquisition up, all of those things that retailers live and breathe. the charity sector can really learn from that, without ever losing the mission focus that comes with it.
Brilliant. Thank you. We're going to talk about AI, Mike.
Obviously.
And I guess I'm asking again about the charity lens. What is the potential of AI? And I guess what does true transformation look like for you?
I'm going to start the answer with a contrary position. Whether it's AI-led transformation or just standard tech-led transformation, it starts with the people, it starts with your processes. And indeed with especially, agentic AI and the huge strides that we made with that in the last, and I hate to say it, the last 12 months. I mean, I'm not even sure 12 months ago we'd be sat here having this conversation. It's moved on so quickly. I mean, 12 months ago we'd have been talking ChatGPT and genetic. In fact, we probably were, I think, with Patrick, having those conversations just 12 months ago. Now where we're sat, the strides that agentic has made means that it's even more critical that you start with the people, you start with the processes. If you don't get your processes right, if you don't understand those and really take them back to basics, you're going to be layering on the most powerful tool we've ever had to transform organizations onto bad processes. That's going to result in disaster. And in fact, we're already seeing, I was reading in one of my charity WhatsApp group this morning about an organization that lost all their data because, I won't name the AI tool. That was not fair, but it's out there, but the tool deleted everything, because the situation it's put in. So, if you don't have the guide rails in place, if you don't have the processes absolutely streamlined down and totally understood, if you don't have the right human in the loop checkpoints, you're facing disaster. I am at the turn of the year. I wrote an article for Retail Innovation Hub, an organization I work alongside, and I wrote a 6 predictions for AI in retail in 2026. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's going along with it. And one of the predictions I made, and I've repeated this at Marie Curie, and I've seen it being stated by other people as well, far more intelligent than me, that at least one organization with great fundamentals, good cash flow, good turnover, good customer base, is going to go to the wall this year because they rushed AI in and the processes were wrong for it. And I can't predict how that's going to look, but you put in place the power, the reasoning power, the analytical power that that these things, and then the auto operational power that the agentic can bring now. And if you've got the wrong data that it's making decisions on, therefore it's making confused decisions where you don't have that human element of going, I know, I smell. We talk about the smell test whenever we're reviewing business cases or whenever making decisions. AI doesn't have the smell test. AI doesn't have that ability to just look at it and go, this looks okay. I can't find anything wrong here, but it's wrong.
Yeah.
And don't ask me how I know it's wrong. It's just wrong.
Yeah.
AI doesn't have that. It will take whatever you give it. Yes, it'll be able to do immense analytical stuff with it, but it'll still just do what it's been effectively to. I'm oversimplifying, but we do what it'll be. So the reality is that, unless you get the processes right, and a lot of organizations now, we read a lot at the start of the year about organizations are struggling to move beyond, prototypes and trials. Organizations are really struggling. There was that great news article that came out from someone at the turn of the year where I can't remember the numbers. 82% of trial don't return value. The reality is we're still thinking about AI as a traditional transformation piece. Again, start the process. That's fine, but the trials are all about tinkering around the edges. Even the trials we're running at Marie Curie, they're tinkering around the edges. They're playing with it. What people are realizing now is you have to go back to a blank bit of paper. Take your processes back to the start. Go back to the principles of what it is you're trying to achieve. Have people who are trained in AI and lean operating models. Get it back to the bare minimum, to the basics. Write your processes again on a blank bit of paper, then layer AI on top of it. That's the only way we're going to deliver true fundamental transformation. And I don't know many places that are brave enough to do that, because the impact on organizations, the risk in organizations is going to be huge. But that is, as far as I can see, the only way we're going to deliver the huge changes. Now, you can do that on small scale initially, just target a few, non-key processes, a few elements that we have to go after. But the piece is, you've got to start thinking differently. This is not normal. We're not in a normal world now.
So I guess go back to basics and really look what you're saying at your data governance.
Absolutely.
And your data quality as well.
100%.
It seems like as an underlying foundation. And I guess thinking ahead, and I was going to say 3 years, but it's probably more like 12 months. Where do you see for the third sector, for charities, where do you see the biggest potential if we can operationalize, if we have the right guardrails in place? Where's the potential?
All over the place. I mean, that's the both the beauty and the challenge. Prioritization in this space is going to be difficult, because prioritization is about saying no to some stuff and saying yes to everything else. If I can only really talk to Marie Curie, but I look at our world. I look at, we start with our nurses, where we must start. Our nurses spend a significant length of time on their shifts, entering data into our APR systems. It's a critical bit of work. We've got to do it. It's core to the quality of care that we have to provide, and nothing gets in the way of the quality of care that we provide. That's our absolute, inviolate position. The reality is that they spend a lot of time doing that administrative work. We are looking at how do we utilize ambient voice technology? How do we use AI note-taking to allow our nurses, our healthcare assistants, our doctors to totally focus on the patient and take away that administration that, we don't hire people for their ability to do administration. We hire people for their heart, for their empathy, for the love of what they do, and we make them spend, hours a day typing stuff into a computer. I want to do away with that. I want them so that they're spending almost their entire shift safely, securely, but still focusing pure on the patient. So just that space alone, that will be huge. And then the ability to focus all of our people's resource on that. But also, all charities have got real funding challenges. Everybody is aware of it. The charities all through in the last 24 months, almost every charity has gone through a round of layoffs, etc. And that, it's heartbreaking. But the reality is that we've got an opportunity with this to really make charities much more efficient, to allow the charities to focus resources on where it really matters. So within the fundraising space, I know of several charities that are using, and we're running a program at the moment to utilize a combination of agentic and gen to help in customer contacts, to speed up the ability to respond to customer and supporter queries. This isn't about using a computer to respond. It's just about to take away the admin, the stuff that gets in the way. We've still got the teams doing the same stuff. We've still got the same teams, but we're allowing them to speed up and spend more time actually on the customer, the supporter engagement piece, which is the important bit, not doing the administration and the bureaucracy around it, because that's what it's about. So, and then you bring in machine learning into our huge data sets. How do we get more out of these data sets? How do we look at, lifetime value of a supporter? How do we look at how we, as it's a project that we're working on as well. So how do we utilize this to get to be able to engage better and more with our supporter base? And it's not about looking at our supporters as as just some people that we can get money from. It's about, these are people who really choose to support Marie Curie. How do we get closer to them? How do we work better with them? How do we engage them in the stuff that really interests them as well as, benefits us? How do we, drive that part of the whole piece forward? So it's hard to say where AI will really, a single place where it will benefit everybody. It's got the potential right the way across the organization to benefit everybody.
And I love how you really think about it in connection to what you want to achieve as an organization as well, rather than just from a technology perspective and automation perspective. So that's really great. I really want to get to the ethical use of AI, because I'm just thinking about AI in your context, in the context of end of life care,
Yeah.
really has a different meaning. And I wanted to hear from you of how Marie Curie thinks about that and goes about that.
Yeah, we start with the governance. We start with the ethics. When we started on our AI journey about 12, 18 months ago, I can't believe it was only just that. We started with a risk-based approach. We put in place a governance committee. We put in place a governance structure that set governance as the start of everything we did, as the core and the foundation of everything we did. We've just revamped it with the advances. We couldn't have predicted the advances that have come on. But with the advances in AI and with the opportunities that are available to us, and we've a huge ambition, as I said, to take advantage of these tools. But we can never lose sight that the patient is at the heart of everything we do, and patient care, the quality of care that we give has to be the key for everything, as well as looking after our data, making sure our data is safe. All of these things are, these are the priorities we've got to go. So we took a governance first approach. Our governance committee comprises a representative of our quality guardian. We have our nursing information systems officer, Paul. He's on the committee as well. So we have it covered off. We have our director of governance and risk. He chairs it rather than me chairing it. So that was a very conscious decision that we wanted to always have governance and control and structure at the heart of it. Now, we've structured the committee with a bias towards action. We want to do, we can't let ourselves be held back by too much governance. So I'm the vice chair, and my position is to go hard at this. Douglas is there to act as a coherent and sensible brake on it to make sure we're always safe. But at the same time, the committee has written into it a bias towards that action as well. So we feel we've got that balance absolutely spot on to make sure that we stay governed, we stay true to our principles, that we always have ethics, we always have data information governance in there as well, that we have the Caldecott Garden, we have Paul, making sure we're doing the right things for our patients. And then we have, the team around it who are going, right, how do we take advantage of this? So it's about that balance and making sure you've got it right, but you start with governance at all points.
And it's interesting because at the beginning you said two of the biggest risks, but also things organizations need to get right is the data governance side of it and the data quality in that case. But I guess where you're making the connections, what we're seeing many organizations look at that ethical use of AI as a separate, siloed stream of activity, I guess, whereas you're really connecting it to one of the biggest things anyway that need to be in place to really make use of the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be at the heart of everything we do. I mean, ethics is at the heart of everything we do anyway, and AI has just got to be a part of it. Although I own the AI space in Marie Curie, every exec has to also have a part share ownership, if we want to think about it that. It's going to affect everybody. So everybody's got to buy into it. Everybody's got to understand what they're doing. If they're not, I will never be successful in driving the agenda that I've got. So it's critical that all of my colleagues feel safe, feel that they've got a voice in it, and feel that we're doing the right thing. And as far as I can see, they all are. They're really keen. We've got a huge agenda ahead of us at Marie Curie. It was a huge amount of work to do, but they're all really on board with what is achievable here.
And Mike, you've come from the private sector, and now in charity. What do you think can commercial operations really learn from how charities operate?
I think it's weird to say the sort of empathy for the people first approach. I mean, as I said, for retail's very customer first approach, and that's brilliant. In my career, I've worked in a lot of retailers that have very, very, say, strict command and control structures. At the top, we we shout and we tell people what they're supposed to do, and then people go off and do it. Fortunately, I think that has changed a lot, but I certainly would say that that's a critical change. It's got to be people first. You've got to be focused on your mission. The one thing charities are, whether they understand it or not, they build great communities. The community, say the London Marathon, the community of volunteers, of sponsors, of carers that we have at Marie Curie is just they're just amazing people. In retail, working to build that community is what every retailer wants. That's the end goal. You can only build that community by really understanding your mission, understanding your why. Our why is clear. Retailers need to really get to grips with why do they exist. Once you understand your why and you translate that into strategy, you translate that using empathy, then you can build that community. You engage the people that you want to use. And once you've got that, using the data to engage that community to drive what you want your outcomes to be. Ultimately, it's going to be more sales, but that it can't just be about that. It's got to be the wider piece of why do you exist in the world today? Because a purely transactional model, as we're finding out, it's disappearing.
Yeah. I feel like that's a whole new podcast, Mike.
Absolutely.
I guess to finish off, we always ask every guest if there was one piece of advice you could give aspiring and business leaders, technology leaders, what would that be?
So to technology leaders, I would say engage with everyone, listen. And this is a lesson to the 30-year-old Mike Cadden when he was just entering Expedia. Listen more than anything else. Engage with everyone that's out there, and it's not about the technology. And in fact, aspiring tech leaders coming through now probably know less about day-to-day technology than the people in their teams and the people that are out there. For business leaders, it's the same. It's not about the technology. Don't think technology can solve all your problems. It absolutely cannot. Technology will, help you solve your problems, but it's about the people you've got. Get the people right, get the processes right. Don't go to technology and saying, I want this new technology, I want this new thing. Wrong way round. Go to technology and saying, I've got this problem. How do we solve it together? You go down that road and you'll find technology and business can do brilliant things together, but understand it's not about the technology.
Amazing. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening.